As promised, it's our pleasure to have Andrea Horwath, the leader of Ontario's NDP, on Battleground. Welcome to the show, Ms. Horwath.
Thank you so much, Daniel. My pleasure.
So I want to start off by talking about the gas plants and the hearings that are going on in the legislature. Former House of Commons Speaker Peter Milliken testified today. He seemed to indicate that there may have been a breach of MPP's privileges when the government censored some of the documents that were released on the gas plant moves. But he also says that it seems odd to him that the Progressive Conservatives would be going after Chris Bentley, the former energy minister, on a contempt motion when he's already retired from politics. All of that as background, are you happy with what you're hearing in the hearings so far? Do you think any work is getting done?
Well, I mean, it's been a long time coming to get the hearings up and running, but now that they are up and running, you're right about today's, your characterization of today's hearings, but I mean, I think what people really want is the answers to some fundamental questions. How much did this cost? And who was pulling the strings, if you will, not only in terms of the initial decision, but also in terms of the cover-up that's ensued over the last several months.
Now, how are we going to get to, I guess, some more accurate numbers about what these moves cost? I know that the NDP has a key energy analyst who's going to be called to testify next week. I think Bruce Sharp is going to be before the legislature during a break week, which is odd. How will he add to the conversation?
Well, I mean, you've probably seen some of the analysis that Mr. Sharp has already done, and so we're going to spend some time talking to him about, where he thinks the price tag should go in terms of all of the different pieces that we should look at that should be the all-in costs. And it's going to be very interesting. Of course, the Auditor General is also looking at some of these things as well, both the Mississauga and the Oakville plants. And so we'll get some information from the Auditor General as well. But as you know, that's a piece of the puzzle, a big important piece in terms of the ultimate cost, both to the taxpayer as well as the impact on rates, because some of that's going to be, paid through or has been paid through our rates at our hydro rates, which are already pretty high, if anybody noticed, right? But the other big piece is who was pulling the strings and who was ordering the cover-up and who was doing the dirty work, if you will, for the government, both inside the agency and outside the agency. And that's something that the people of this province have a right to know.
Now, I want to move on to one of the other issues, the possibility of a spring or a summer election. You said recently, when you were asked specifically about whether what would happen if you didn't get a 15% reduction in auto insurance rates in the next Liberal budget, would you force an election over that? And you said at the time, if I don't get what the people of this province deserve in terms of changes that address their problems in this budget, then we will be going to the polls. Is that still your red line, still your line in the sand, a 15% reduction in auto insurance rates?
Well, Daniel, it's that and a number of other things. I mean, I've been clear that we want to see the closing of corporate tax loopholes in Ontario. We want to see a program to help our young people get some on-the-job training and get engaged in the workforce. We want to see a balanced approach to balancing the books. We want to see a 5-day guarantee on home care for folks. And we want to see a reduction of 15% in the auto insurance rates. And I've said for a long time, and I've been clear with the Premier and clear with the public, people expect and deserve to have some of their major issues dealt with and addressed in the budgets. And, the last couple of budgets, we haven't seen that. We've seen a lot of Liberal insiders, get what they wanted, but we haven't seen the people's needs actually being met. And so I've been clear with the Premier, we want this budget to meet the needs of the people, and if it doesn't, we won't be able to support it. Now, whether that leads us into an election, we'll have to wait and see. The Liberals need one of the parties to support them to get through a budget, either ourselves or the Conservatives, and I'm just being upfront with the Premier in terms of what my expectations are and what I think the people of this province deserve, and we'll see what choices she makes going forward.
You might get some of the things you ask for. It's probably unlikely, realistically speaking, that you'll get all of the things you ask for. And so what I'm trying to figure out is, where is the bottom line for you? What would make the budget unacceptable? Well, is it an all or nothing thing?
Well, I mean, I guess my point to the Premier is, and that's why I didn't have a huge, massive list. I mean, these are some fundamental things. Affordability of everyday life, which people are still struggling to make ends meet. That's the auto insurance piece. Making sure that people get the kind of healthcare system they need when they need it. That's the piece on home care. Dealing with the youth unemployment crisis, obviously trying to make things a little more fair in terms of people who are struggling to engage in the workforce. So this is people on ODSP and social assistance keeping the first $200 of their earnings, something that all parties agree on. Closing corporate tax loopholes. None of these things are pie in the sky. None of these things are irrational or non unable to be achieved in a shorter time frame. And so I don't want to hear any more conversations. I think people are tired of the conversation, tired of all the talk, and what they deserve to see is some real action. And so that's there was a lot of talk in the throne speech, some of it which I actually thought was quite interesting, but the rubber hits the road in the budget, and that's why I've made it clear to the Premier that the people deserve some real action in this budget.
All right, Andrea Horwath, thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you, Daniel.